Temple football falls in its last game of the season in a heartbreaker, but the game did include a record-setting performance for E.J Warner.
Plus, the men's basketball team was busy at the Palestra and finally back at the Liacouras Center to host Philly rival Drexel after the Owls' trip to the Barclays Center over Thanksgiving break.
Plus, it's our last show of the semester, so we'll take a look at how hard our team has been working.
Yes, we tip our cap in this final show. OwlSports Update is live and it starts right now. Hello and welcome to the final OwlSports Update show of the semester.
She's Brielle Berry, I'm Ajay Patel, and a lot has happened since our last show. Men's hoop is at the Palestra, the volleyball team finishes for the fall, and so does the football season in a last-minute loss on senior day. It was a high-scoring senior day at the Linc as ECU came to town. Right off the bat, E.J Warner, he throws off his back foot and finds Ahmad Anderson for a 6-yard score. Number 15 recorded 6 catches for over 90 yards. And how about the other quarterback, Carlton Wiggins, throws a 14-yard dime, 1 of 3 receiving touchdowns for ECU. But Warner responds, finding Zay Baines for a touchdown and a program record 527 yards. The Owls are down 28-24 at the half.
Now on to the second half. Pirates in the red zone on this play. Ehlers is going to take the snap and hand it off to running back Keaton Mitchell, who runs it in for 8 yards and a score. Temple trails 35-24. But here's the comeback. Warner gives it to Edward Sadie and he scores. Owls actually took a 46-42 lead. But with about a minute left in the game, a senior day win is just not to be. 2nd and 10 at the Temple 38, and Ehlers throws a TD pass to wide receiver Jalen Johnson. ECU is going to take this one 49-46.
Warner moved to 2nd in program history for single-season passing yards. It's important to note that the true freshman earned the starting job in Week 3 against Rutgers. If he'd started at the beginning of the season, he would have been on pace to shatter P.J. Walker's previous record. But Warner did set the number of completions in a season. His 45 passes this past weekend put him at 268 on the year. And as mentioned, Warner broke the program record for passing yards in a game, throwing for over 500 yards versus ECU.
Warner definitely had some struggles in the first 2 months of the season, throwing only 6 touchdowns compared to 9 interceptions. But in November, Warner improved tremendously, increasing his passing yards per game by 160 yards. He also threw 10 TDs and just 3 picks. But Warner wasn't able to get it done in the win column. His play in the second half of the season definitely confirmed he is the guy moving forward, and the rest of the conference agrees. As on Wednesday, Warner was awarded Conference Rookie of the Year.
Now that the season is over, so are some of the football players' athletic careers. OwlSports Update Sam Covone is at our studio set and has more on Temple's graduating seniors.
Thanks, guys. The Owls hosted their annual senior game this past Saturday. Offensive lineman Adam Klein, Isaac Moore, punter Mackenzie Morgan, and 10 others are part of the 2022 graduating class. Along with these players, senior members of the dance and cheerleading teams, as well as the marching band, were also honored. Although the Owls didn't walk away with the win against ECU, the graduating class was celebrated by its teammates, coaches, friends, family members, and fans in the Owls' last performance at the Linc. It might not have been the season that they hoped for at 3-9, but these players can take pride in knowing that they contributed to the team's overall growth. Reporting live from the studio set, I'm Sam Covone. AJ and Brielle, back to you.
Thanks, Sam. Former Temple football and Carolina Panthers head coach Matt Rhule is once again employed. Rhule was let go by the Panthers in October. Now he's returning to Division I football as he was officially hired by Nebraska on Monday. Rhule signed a massive contract with the Cornhuskers, and he will make $72 million over the span of 8 years. The Panthers still owe him $34 million compared to the initial $40 million Carolina would have owed him had he remained unemployed. Now back to the current Owls. It's time for us to bring someone on to the show that knows a thing or two about Temple football.
Inside the Nest reporter Jake Gabel joins us about the future of Temple football. Thanks for coming on, Jake.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So the first question I want to ask is, now that the football season is over, how big of a factor do you think the transfer portal is going to be? Do you think that the Owls that have already entered the portal are going to make a difference, or do you think that the team's news with those coming in is going to make more of an impact?
I think the Owls that are going to be coming in is going to make more of an impact than the guys leaving. Last year, a lot of guys left, most notably Jaden Blue. He's one of Temple's all-time leading receivers. But that was right after Rod Carey just got fired. They had a disastrous season. They had a much better season this year with Stan Drayton. They have such a better culture. The players seem to really want to play for Stan Drayton. And not only that, but they had a lot of key contributors who were transfers this year. Guys like Adonicus Sanders, Ian Stewart, Mackenzie Morgan, Camden Price. The list goes on. There are a lot of transfers that played really good this season, and I think that's going to encourage more people to want to come over to Temple.
So, Jake, my question for you, what is the future of the American going to look like now that we have teams like Cincy, UCF, and Houston all leaving the conference?
Well, like you just mentioned, those three teams, they're all at the top 5 of the conference right now. So that makes the schedule moving forward for Temple a lot easier. There's going to be 6 teams coming in from Conference USA, and they're all going to, they all had a weaker strength of schedule than Temple did this season. So I think Temple is going to be able to benefit from an easier schedule moving forward.
Great info. Thanks, Jake.
It's time for us to take our first break of the afternoon. When we come back, a first for Temple men's basketball at the Palestra against LaSalle.
And we'll be looking at a hooper who competes more with his teammates than he does against his rivals. Welcome back to OwlSports Update. Wednesday night at the Palestra, the Owls taking on their old friend in Fran Dunphy, the newest head coach at LaSalle. Temple got down early in this Philly 5 matchup, but there was no quit. Damian Dunn catches the inbounded pass here. He can get nothing going, and he passes it off to his fellow guard in Caleb Battle. The shot clock is ticking. The defense is as good as it gets, but it doesn't matter because Battle doesn't even need to see the rim. Battle led all scorers with 22 points. And this one, it gives the Owls the lead. Casually trotting up to the three-point line, and he pops this one over 6'10" forward for LaSalle. Now, leading by 9, Damian Dunn, who played all but 3 minutes, uses his feed to collect the and one. Temple comes back and beats LaSalle 67-51.
At home on Sunday, the Owls had city rival Drexel on the north side. Here's Hasier Miller coming off a screen at the top of the key, and he tries to shake his defender, and he's going to hit the contested step back 3. Miller finished with a season-high 20 points. And now, Caleb Battle with the ball, drives to the basket, makes a second defender come and dishes the ball to a diving Nick Jourdain. Owls open up a double-digit lead. Here's Drexel with the ball, driving down the lane, and they get the and one with the foul being called on Jameel Reynolds. But Drexel continues to cut into the lead. Coltrane Washington, he gets in the paint, misses the shot, but gets his own offensive board and puts it back for 2. Still, the Owls rip off a 15-0 second-half run to snap the streak. Temple wins 73-61. If you look at the box score from either the Drexel or the LaSalle game, you won't see the name Ryan Sayers listed. He's one of 3 walk-ons. But just because he rarely sees the court doesn't mean his work goes unnoticed.
The best-known basketball players are the ones who receive playing time. That's no real surprise. But there are other players, the ones who don't see game action but still contribute to the team in vital ways. One of these players is second-year walk-on Ryan Sayers.
There's nothing else I would rather do than be here.
Being a walk-on doesn't make Sayers too much different than scholarship players. He's still at every lift, every practice, and carries a full-time class load.
Well, we come in and lift, just like all the other scholarship guys. I'll be in here with them. We go through practice, probably ends around 11:30, 12 o'clock, and I'll go in there, I'll eat, then I'll start to work on my studies. I'll work on my studies from somewhere around 12:30 to 4 o'clock, come back in here for a workout.
Sayers shows up to practice and plays as the scout team point guard. Assistant coach Jimmy Fennerty works closely with Sayers and sees his important role.
He does a great job of just being a guy who does everything for us. He never complains about anything. You look at our bench during the game, Ryan's one of the dudes waving the towel, getting all excited.
Sayers tries to be a guy his teammates can look up to. His mentor last year was walk-on Colin Daly, and Sayers is trying to be that for the 2 newly added walk-ons this season.
I show them how I work because I want them to be able to emulate that.
Sayers isn't the best on the court, but he's one of the best at his job. That means making his teammates better at practice when very few are looking.
Sayers is graduating in May, so this is his final season with the men's basketball team. And he wants to show the other 2 current walk-ons and future walk-ons that it isn't about your personal stats, but about how well your team performs.
A split for the women's team. First to the left, a win over Bucknell on Sunday. Transfer Aaliyah Nelson has made an immediate impact as she leads the team in total points scored. Jaisha Clinton also produced shooting over 60% from the field. Owls by 15. Against Old Dominion on Wednesday night, the team lost its 5th game of the season. 3 Monarchs, including Michaela Dickens and Amari Young, found themselves in double digits. The Owls are now 2-5 with the 12-point loss. The Liacouras Center has been busy as of late. In November alone, the court has hosted 7 basketball games between the men's and women's teams. OwlSports Updates Carlton Wiggins is live outside the Liacouras Center with information on how Temple gets ready for game day.
Thanks, guys. Preparing for game day can be stressful at the Liacouras Center. Every step before and during the game is carefully planned for attendees to have a safe and fun night. After speaking with Lee Roberts and Kate Gear, we learned how Temple University gets ready for game day.
12 o'clock, 2 hours before tip-off, the doors aren't even open at the Liacouras Center. But Kate Gear is working hard.
So always really excited on game day, a little nervous. You never know what's going to happen. Something always comes up that you got to kind of roll and adapt with.
The Liacouras Center has more than 10,000 seats. And with so many people in such a small place, safety is the #1 priority and often the biggest challenge. It impacts everyone, from concessions to the number of gates that are open on game day. Lee Roberts is the center's director of facilities and event management.
We take it in phases. We take it from when a fan gets out of their car to when they come through the doors to when they get into the arena. And then the aspect also of the game itself to make sure that every aspect of the game is ready to go.
Without fans to tend to, there wouldn't be a need for such preparations. The promotions team also works with the band and cheer team to get fans excited and involved during the game.
With so much happening on the operations side of things, the promotions team also has a lot on their plate. We spoke with athletic marketing coordinator Kate Gear about how they keep fans engaged during the game.
The way that you interact with the fans and get the energy up is going to directly affect how they perform because they feel it, when they come out on the court.
A successful game day for the operations and promotions team is when the fans come in and enjoy the game without even noticing what's going on behind the scenes. It takes weeks of planning and hours of prep, but it makes the experience that much more fun.
As you can see, each person has to execute their plan at the right moment each and every time. Reporting from the Liacouras Center, I'm Carlton Wiggins. AJ and Brielle, back to you.
Thanks, Carlton. And here's a perfect example of how busy the Liacouras Center can be. The men's and women's teams have a doubleheader Saturday afternoon at home. The men play Virginia Commonwealth at 1 p.m. and the women play University of Maryland, Baltimore County at 3:30. Also have to mention that the men are on a 2-game win streak, beating Philly rivals Drexel and LaSalle. And the last time these teams played in doubleheader was last December. The men's game will be aired on ESPNU and the women's on ESPN+. Now sticking with basketball, the men's team looks a little different this year than they did last year, losing some guys to the transfer portal and adding some guys in.
I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds like a great topic for how A, AJ, and B, Brielle see it. So Brielle, what's been the key difference between the teams this year for the men's basketball team and the team last year?
I think there's been a lot of differences so far this season, but I think the one person that I really want to point out is big man transfer from UCF, Jameel Reynolds. He's been incredible for the Owls this season. And he's been averaging 12 points and 6 rebounds per game. And also, we have to talk about Caleb Battle. Got injured last season after he was having an incredible season. I'm pretty sure he was leading the entire Division I collegiate programs in scoring. And Caleb's been averaging 18 points this season, so he's been great coming off the bench. And also Jaleel White, his defense has been great. He hasn't been putting up those numbers offensively, but his defense has just been incredible. And when White went out with that knee injury a couple games ago, Battle stepped up in place of him, and it's just been so fun to watch.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head with that one. Caleb definitely made a huge impact last year when he was healthy. But for me personally, the difference comes from the free throw line. The Owls last season, don't get me wrong, did an excellent job of drawing fouls, but they couldn't convert at the free throw line. They shot just under 68%. This is the worst free throw percentage the team has had since the 2005 season. So this year, they have done a better job of capitalizing on those mistakes, shooting just under 80% at the line. And that all starts with Damian Dunn. He shot just under 90% from the free throw line. And like you mentioned, Caleb Battle, too. He leads the team shooting just under 95% from the free throw line. So that's all we have for how A, AJ, and B, Brielle see it. When we come back, we'll cover the volleyball team's pursuit to snatch its first win since November 11th.
Plus, men's rowing, raising money as a way to remember one of their own. Time for our second break. We'll see you in 90 seconds.
Welcome back. The Owls in red welcome the Bulls of USF, who sported their black unis. Peyton Boyd with a running start gets a hold of this one and records one of her 17 kills. Taylor Davenport then gives her teammates a break by scoring an ace. South Florida on the other side, they get stuffed once, but not again. Amanda DeWitt finds the soft spot on the court. Despite outscoring USF by 4 points overall, Temple dropped this match 3-2. The Owls end their season at 10-21. Being a student athlete is a tall task. Joining ROTC, the Reserve Officers Training Corps, is just as much work. Now trying to combine the two, OwlSports Update's Meg Doyle has more on the Owls who are doing both.
Being a Division I student athlete is a huge commitment. For number 23, McKenna Burkhardt, it's field hockey. For Sophia Gulotti, it's track and field. But for both of them, it's also ROTC. That includes training sessions, all starting at 6 a.m. before the sun even rises. The leadership is something both students find in both commitments.
ROTC definitely helped me on the field just because it's all about leadership and you're developing into being a leader in the Army. And so that definitely just translates to the field because I'm on the leadership team on the field hockey team.
For Gulotti, she's a board member on the Student Athletic Advisory Committee.
I'm the social chair and I help with the Instagram, run the Instagram with the president, and coordinate meetings.
For these two student athletes, their bond goes back to freshman year. McKenna reached out to Sophia via Instagram asking her how she can get involved. And 4 years later, the number of female student athletes in the ROTC is still growing.
We've had more student athletes join throughout the course of our 4 years, which is really good to see because I honestly feel we need more student athletes to be involved in something like that because naturally student athletes are just go-getters, they're determined.
Their reward is also monetary as ROTC members are also able to receive scholarships for their work. It has them both pursuing careers in the Army after college. For OwlSports Update, I'm Meg Doyle.
Next week, the men's crew team is doing something in honor of one of its previous members. OwlSports Update's Paddy Heckard is live at the studio set to tell us more about this event. Hey, Paddy.
Hey, Brielle. This Monday, Temple men's crew team will be hosting its 9th annual Mike Mirabella Memorial Erg-A-Thon event. Mike Mirabella was on the crew team for 4 seasons and made the varsity 8 for 3 of them. He was a student athlete advisory committee representative for the crew team and created Cycle for Awareness, a 1,900-mile bike ride to raise awareness for autism spectrum disorder. In August of 2012, Mirabella and another crew teammate biked 100 miles a day over a 19-day period for this cause. Mike passed away after a long bout with cancer in December of 2014, and the crew team has held this event every year since to remember the person he was on and off the water. On Monday, the team will be taking 1-hour shifts on rowing or erg machines from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the bell tower in his memory. Make sure to come out and support the team as the rowers raise money for a good cause and not to mention raise awareness Reporting from the studio set, I'm Paddy Heckard. Brielle and AJ, back to you.
Thanks, Paddy. It's great to see how the team continues to use Mike's legacy as a way to help others.
When we come back, we will highlight some of the incredible members of our own OwlSports Updates crew. We'll be right back. See you in a minute 30.
Welcome back to OwlSports Update. This may be our last show of the semester, but the sports, they're here to stay. Women's track kicks off its season this Saturday up in Queens at the Yuri Spence Garcia meet. The men's and women's basketball team are also busy taking on out-of-conference opponents at the Liacouras Center in that doubleheader on Sunday. The nationally ranked fencing team is on the road taking on Sacred Heart.
Now here at OwlSports Update, we work so hard to produce quality content week in and week out.
From the freshmen to the seniors, our crew is made up of class members, volunteers, and senior staff. We are so proud of them all. And here's a look at some of our on-air staff from this fall.
Thanks, AJ. For the first time in 14 seasons, the Temple women's basketball team has a new voice leading the way.
For these sisters, playing with each other makes Temple feel like their second home.
Since starting in 2018, ESPN Plus has allowed viewers access to on-demand streaming of their favorite sporting events.
Those two turnovers weren't the only thing keeping the Minutemen away from the end zone.
Finally, this half hour, we couldn't forget the part where we break things down.
It's just about time for how A, AJ, and B, Brielle, see it.
Thanks, Brielle. Wednesday was the AAC Media Day for both the men's and women's basketball teams. Redshirt sophomore Damian Dunn was named first team All-AAC.
Thanks, guys. This is not how Temple drew it up. The Owls led by 8 points with less than 90 seconds to go.
It will now be up to Kate and her 10 freshman teammates to step up and help replenish that depth. Reporting for the Liacouras Center, I'm Ricky Turner, OwlSports Update.
I'm here to give you my tool to success for the Owls. Now, Temple has an uphill battle against UCF, a team that is outscoring their opponents by an average of 21 points per game.
And led the Owls to placing 5th in the College Fencing 360 ranking for the 2019 and 2020 season.
And right now, they're trying to use them to stop a 2-match losing streak that popped up over the weekend.
Such a great crew. That last picture you saw was of our wonderful show producer duo, Chloe Giesing and Ryan Venziali. Now for me, walking into TV Studio 3 as a freshman and seeing anchors up on the desk, I knew one day I wanted to be up there. I remember shadowing positions and Professor Matt Fine telling me I needed to stop shadowing and start doing. Little did I know where that would lead me. I would like to thank everyone at OwlSports Update for pushing me to limits I didn't know I could reach, especially Emily, Chloe, Eric Jesberger, Ricky, Luke, AJ, Meg, and of course, Matt Fine, just to name a few. And to my family who's watching this, thank you for all your unconditional love and support.
Yeah, it's crazy to see how far we've both come. I got involved with OwlSports by writing a subpar article, to say the least, but Matt stuck with me. He really pushed me to be better. This whole operation couldn't have been possible without Ryan, who's directing in his last show, Ricky, who's been killing the floor game all year, and everyone else running a studio job. I mean, we've really had an excellent semester of coverage that happened and coming up. So this is not a goodbye, but just to see you later. From the whole crew, thank you so much for tuning in each week. I'm Ajay Patel, she's Brielle Berry, and we're signing off for the very last time in 2022. See you on the other side.